Morning everybody. So welcome to day 92 of compassionate response to COVID-19. So this morning I'm going to look at a book called A Buddhist History of the West by David Loy. I've kind of looked. I'm not massively prepared actually, to be honest. So I'll try and draw some of the main ideas out of it. It's quite difficult to just keep doing daily sessions that are, that are thorough. Anyway, so I'm just going to bring out some of the ideas in this book. What else? So we're doing Mesavavana this morning, and try and have a bit of a kind of leisurely session to just take our time. So what the main thesis in David Loy's book is that we often have things evaluated from a Western perspective, a modern Western perspective. So, religion would be evaluated, from a Western perspective. But it's really interesting to evaluate the West from a religious perspective. What's happened there, and what David Loy thinks has happened is that our kind of society and our concerns are all driven by this sense of lack or incompleteness. We're not enough yet, or we're not free enough, or we don't have enough. For instance, the kind of romantic, obsession people have sometimes for romance. It's like progress, those sorts of things, are all kind of like driven by a sense of like our not being grounded enough in ourselves and in the world, and so we're kind of driven to fill the hole, fill our sense of lack with something, with fame or with progress or whatever it is, So so gonna look at that a little bit. Wish I'd prepared it a bit better, but anyway. We'll just do what we can. All right. So we'll begin by doing some body work to start with. Okay. So let's begin by just drumming with your fingers on top of your head. Tapping on the back of your head, the back of your neck, waking yourself up. Get your hands out on your feet. And then give your face a bit of a wash with your hands. Maybe just hold your forehead in your hands. So trying to slow down. So to be aware of our body, we often need to do that, to slow down. It works on a slower pace in our mind. So just experiencing whatever we're experiencing. Experiencing the moisture on our skin. experiencing the bulk and the volume of our body. The roundness of our belly. Our feelings, how we feel at the moment. And then let's do some swinging from side to side, just turning at the hips. Just allow the upper part of your body to just be carried by the momentum of the turn in your hips. So the movement starts in your foot and then gets turned into a twist back at your hip. Just get into a rhythm with this. And just slowing down a little bit. and just very gradually just coming to a stop. And then very slowly and mindfully just rotating our hips to the four corners, so to the front, to the side, the back, to the side. And again, just come to a stop. And then take your time and just get into your meditation posture. Just getting used to being in a new position. Being aware of the sensations in your body. As you sit here. Feeling the ground underneath you, the firmness of your seat. So we're going to do the metta bhavana, the cultivation of universal loving kindness. We're going to do all 5 stages. So first of all, tuning into ourselves, and maybe sometimes when we start to do the metta bhavana, what we become conscious of is a lack, in terms of a lack of sense of care and kindness towards ourselves, and then we become distressed about that. Why do I not care about myself? Well, don't worry about that sense of lack leading to distress. All we have to do is to just meet that need. give ourselves time. Be with ourselves. May I be well. So starting with where we are, starting with the actual state that we're in, and caring for that state, caring for that person, rather than moving off into the future and to some imagined state. So grounding ourselves in the present moment, how we are right now, reality of how we are right now. Accepting that reality and working with it. cultivating loving kindness towards a good friend. Kindness towards a neutral person. Kindness towards a difficult person, someone you find difficult. final stage of metta bhavana. Okay, in your own time, just bringing your meditation to a close. Okay, so I think when I started doing these sessions, I sort of set myself up a little bit of an aim to try and be as honest and kind of authentic as possible. Just to, as a way of because it's almost like you're doing lots and lots of broadcasts. It's like some days you're gonna you're not gonna be bright and breezy every day, or especially in a pandemic, feeling that positive sometimes, and I think it always helps to, well, it seems to anyway, to just admit that without making it a big thing, So it's almost like some information that you just give people. So the information that I'll give you is that I feel a bit full up, really, mentally, and finding it a little bit hard to kind of think straight. I think, because I've been doing things outside of these sessions, but also, kind of done sort of two like big topics over the last couple of days on Friday as well, kind of, no, not Friday, last week as well, so covering the power of now on Monday, and then Buddhism and Taoism yesterday. So it's almost like, there's a kind of limit to how many things I can prepare, in a way, it's like I'm not preparing them last week, I'm preparing them kind of like the previous day or something like that. So I just, maybe I've overdone it a little bit, but you just got to, So I'm a bit worried about not doing David Loy's book justice by not being in that greater state to talk about it. But I think professionalism is about being there in the moment with the goods, no matter what the situation is. So I'm just going to do my best and be professional about it, and try and talk about the ideas in the book. So I think that so David Loy, he's involved in Zen Buddhism in America. I think somewhere, it might be Colorado, somewhere around there. We actually had him as a speaker at Buddhafield. We had an online Buddhafield a few weeks ago, and he did a talk on ecology and took questions, and he's a really delightful man. I just see, I just saw people just kind of really warming to him, and relaxing, and like somebody you could really trust. And I think that's the sense I got when I read this book. I thought, he's really made the effort. Well, maybe for him it's not an effort, but he's really made the effort to be clear, to be really, really clear, and kind of put in all sorts of examples and historical examples, and it just makes it a kind of, well, when something is, I think that's the case often with people who are really at the top of the game. They not only have the ideas, but they express them in a beautiful way, And I remember my friend Jinan, and I used to think that ideas come first, and then you present, the presentation comes second. But my friend Jinan, who died about 3 years ago, who was a fantastic editor and author of books like I've forgotten now, Warrior of Peace, the life story of the Buddha. He said that he thought that the ideas, it was the other way around, the ideas came out of the beautiful writing, so and in a way that so in Buddhism you've got various archetypal figures that represent different sort of qualities that are necessary for enlightenment. So one of them is wisdom. So Manjugosha is represents wisdom, and he's called well, his name means the gentle voiced one. So it's almost like sometimes it's out of the gentle expression or subtle expression that the power comes, because wisdom is something quite powerful. I think you can understand what I'm saying there, but sometimes the more subtle something is, the more powerful it is. What David Lloyd's focused on in his career as a writer is the idea of lack. That so he's the author of Lack and Transcendence, The Problem of Death and Life in Psychotherapy, Existentialism, Buddhism and Non-Duality, a study in comparative philosophy. So it's like his main thesis seems to be that it's through a sense of lack that things become driven. So a Buddhist history of the West is, it goes into, for instance, how starts off with the ancient Greeks. So in ancient Greece, we see this as the kind of birthplace of like Western philosophy, and in a way some of the main ideas in the West. So a lot of a big idea that came out of ancient Greece was the kind of idea of the kind of pursuit of freedom. Freedom of thought. Freedom of expression, those sorts of things, Actually, before I say anything about that, I'll just give his introduction. So it begins with a quote from Arthur Koestler. I think he was the author of The Ghost in the Machine, something like that. If one looks with a cold eye at the mess man has made of his history, it's difficult to avoid the conclusion that he's been afflicted by some built-in mental disorder which drives him towards self-destruction. So, from a Buddhist point of view, Buddhists agree that there isn't a fixed self. There's not a kind of fixed self. Therefore, there's just a flow of conditions in the world that we have to just then make the best out of. So everything's impermanent. So even when we kind of create conditions for happiness for ourselves, they disappear. So we have to keep bringing them back in again. So in a way that the nature of reality is that it is ungrounded. There's no solid ground for us to rest on. So the Bodhisattva is said to take their stand in emptiness. So it's like they're able to be in the world, even though there's nothing that's solid that can be relied upon. So in a way, what they're relying on is the fact that things are unreliable, and they don't get fooled by thinking into that they are reliable. So in a way, that this sense of lack that Lloyd talks about, that people have, is like, it's like a lack of a ground. It's like we're looking for a ground, something to believe in, that's going to form a basis for our lives. So it's a constant sense of trying to meet this sense of ungroundedness and become grounded. He says, since our history becomes a tale of the increasingly this worldly ways we have attempted to resolve this sense of lack. Since the lack is due to our ungroundedness, which is basically a spiritual problem, these attempts have for the most part been unsuccessful. In psychotherapeutic terms, we have unconsciously projected and objectified our lack by trying to ground ourselves somewhere in the world. Our inability to do that means we continue to be haunted by our own shadow. So he talks about one of the first things that we sense we lack is, or we're interested in, is freedom. So any culture that emphasises the individuality of the self will naturally come to place paramount value on the freedom of that self. So it's like, we feel we lack freedom, and therefore we're trying to become more free. But what he points to is that in societies like ancient Egypt, everyone was held in a hierarchy of, so it was, the understanding of the society was that, even the pharaohs were kind of part of a system, so that they weren't free, and in a way, this is true. This is the Buddhist view in a way, because with the Tibetan wheel of life, what is held by the Lord of Impermanence, who's a demon called Yama, and it's like he's holding up a mirror to us, and he's saying, and he's sometimes called the Lord of Limitation. So it's a bit like he's holding up this mirror, which is saying, this is how things are, and this is this is what you're trapped in. This world of samsara, which is just keep repeating your patterns and all that sort of thing. So in a way, yeah, we are. There are limits. There is a structure to things. So in terms of in terms of the 4 foundations of mindfulness. It's like it's not random. These all exist. This is the structure of life, body, feeling, mind, and emotions and views are what we have to work with. So they limit our experience. They are the limits of our experience. So we have to work with those. So this sense that that it's possible to be completely free is a myth. We're never completely free of anything. We're always limited by the certain circumstances that we're in. We have to work with that. So he also talks about one of the things that's arisen. I think probably kind of around the time of the Renaissance is the sense of because before that it's like you had the kind of medieval society. There wasn't a sense of celebrity. Nobody. In fact, often people would just scribe. People who were artists. They wouldn't be known. It wouldn't be known who did a particular, bit of art. They were just almost like seen as like tradesmen, craftsmen and stuff like that. So, but at some point, what came about was a kind of like a celebrity or something, or desire for fame, or so in a way, you ended it with like kind of competition between artists. So the lack can manifest as like I'm not famous enough, or I haven't done enough. I suppose it's like I have not got enough status. If it's say in our career or something, I'm only at this level, and it's almost like we can never. It's endless, that process, I mean, I'm trying to, part of doing these sessions is to get them out there so that people can be helped by Buddhism, by the ideas in Buddhism, and so, I've been trying to share. I've been sharing these on various Facebook groups and Buddha Field and Buddhist Centre Online and all that, and the session on Mondays had almost 600 views. But it's always so there's this sense of it's never enough. It's like, and even when you got 10,000 views or something, it's never enough. So there's something that's part of the whole kind of greed, hatred, and delusion. Where we're we're just informed by those poisons, that we're just constantly dissatisfied. So that just creates this sense of for everybody who doesn't feel like they're famous enough, they just feel the sense of lack as Debbie Loy says. He also talks about lack in the sense of lack of progress. So in the West we've been obsessed with progress, and I was watching this YouTube thing on SpaceX putting satellites in, wanting to put loads and loads of satellites into low Earth orbit, so that they can improve the internet connection to people in isolated places around the world. And also there's a program on mining asteroids and things like that. So it's all kind of like, again, it's almost like the more technological progress that we make, the more lack we feel. Oh, we still, we still haven't done whatever it is, So, or things we're not modern enough, that sort of stuff. Anyway, I'm kind of rambling a bit here, because I've not got the arguments in front of me. But hey, maybe I shouldn't worry about it too much. So I think, to sum up a little bit, I think it's important to. I think what David Loy has done that's really helpful and important is that it's showing us that actually all this stuff that happens in our society, where there's some sort of drive, for progress, or there's a drive for fame, or there's a drive for freedom, that these are rooted in unskillful mental states. They're not rooted in, say, for instance, contentment or generosity or kindness. So maybe what we need to start doing is like looking at those as areas of lack. So maybe there's not enough. Maybe we need to, rather than feeling a sense of lack in terms of our own possessions, we need to think in terms of abundance. In terms of our own possessions, so that we then share them with others. Rather than thinking in terms of lack of success or fame, we need to think in terms of kind of humility and service. That in fact, the Pure Land patriarchs were just very, very humble people who didn't think they had anything to offer the world, and just were very convinced of their own kind of like stupidity, but that made them like very human. What else was there? Lack of modernity. Maybe what that sort of impacts on is like tradition or something. It's like we're not seeing the value of tradition and of things that have worked well in the past. So we're constantly striving for sort of, we turn modernity into post-modernity, and we don't really look at whether, what's post-modernity actually saying. It's kind of like it's deconstructing everything. Things that might actually be quite helpful to human beings, So so this sense of just being driven by in different areas by this sense of lack. It's we're just trying to look outside of ourselves for a way of grounding ourselves, and what we need to be doing is to be looking inside and grounding ourselves in our own experience, and in a way accepting ourselves and accepting our own experience, and working with what's there, working with the person that's there, and trying to meet our actual needs, rather than being drawn. The needs that we can meet ourselves, rather than those that need to be met externally in some way or other, like success or freedom or whatever it is, Anyway, so that was a really unprepared session on Buddhist history of the West. I might do a better version actually. Alright, so that's it for today, and hope you have a nice day. See you later. Bye.